Brett Veach just ran a financial triple play behind closed doors, and most of Chiefs Kingdom may have missed it. So while the entire NFL media world is busy replaying Mahomes highlights from today and counting the yellow jerseys on Worthy and Jaden Hicks, Veach quietly executed 3 moves last night that reshaped the entire trajectory of this entire franchise. And here's the thing. If you think the right tackle battle is just Jalen Moore and Esapole shuffling around, you are missing the most dangerous dark horse in this entire camp. A 6'6", 321-pound UDFA who took first-team reps with the starters today. A guy that nationally nobody is talking about, and he might just be one of the biggest steals of the entire offseason. So today we're going deep on Kahlil Benson, the UDFA out of Indiana who just won a national championship, and he showed up to mandatory minicamp ready to compete with the starters. We're going to look at his tape, his pro day numbers, and exactly why Andy Heck's eyes might have just lit up when he saw this kid line up today. Then we're breaking down every dollar of the Chiefs 2026 draft class signings, Mansoor, Delane, Peter Woods, and the full cap picture after L'Jarius Sneed has finally came home. I've run the numbers, and the answer to where Kansas City stands right now on the salary cap is going to surprise you. But before we get to any of that, I need to show you something from today's practice that tells me this secondary might be further along than anyone even expects. Stay with me, that's coming up. All right, let's set the scene first. Mandatory minicamp, same rules as voluntary OTAs. No pads, no live contact, nobody's getting driven into the turf today. But this is the last organized team activity before the summer break and training camp in St. Joe. So what happens in these 3 days really do matter. Quick notebook dump from the field today before we get to the main event. We seen Mahomes out there in 7-on-7 drills. The ball was coming out crisp, but the staff is still holding him out of full team drills. They're still protecting that knee. It's a smart move. And the number 6 pick overall, Mansoor Delane, was spotted on the field, but without a helmet. Don't panic, it's June. Reed will speak to the media on Thursday, and we'll get the official word on that. Just standard maintenance, more than likely. But here's where it gets interesting. While cameras were chasing Mahomes and Worthy around, one guy was quietly getting first-team reps at the right tackle position, and nobody in the national media has said a single word about it. Kahlil Benson, Indiana Hoosiers, 2026 UDFA. And if you watched the college football playoffs this past year, you already saw this man help win a national championship. Let's start with the physical profile because the numbers jump off the page. Benson is 6'5" and 7/8", basically 6'6". He weighs 321 pounds, but the measurement that matters most for a right tackle protecting Patrick Mahomes, that's his arm length. 34 5/8 inches long with a wingspan approaching 6'10". In the NFL, that length is the difference between a speed rusher dipping under the arc and getting walled off. He ran a 5.0940, which for a guy clearing 320 pounds is actually impressive. And he put up 23 reps on the bench press. Now, here's the thing about Benson's college career that I think gets overlooked. This is not a one-year wonder. He started at Indiana in 2022 at right guard. He moved to right tackle in 2023. He started all 12 games. And according to Pro Football Focus, he allowed exactly 1 sack on 424 pass blocking snaps. That's crazy. 1 sack in the Big Ten against elite edge rushers every single Saturday. He then transferred to Colorado in 2024 where he played right tackle. He played some right guard and some left guard. He showed that versatility that NFL teams drool over. Then he transferred back to Indiana for the 2025 national championship run under Curt Cignetti. The guy has been everywhere and competed everywhere. On tape, what you see is a concrete anchor. When Benson sets his base, it is genuinely difficult to move him around. He has that aggressive finisher streak, that nastiness that reminds you a little bit of early Trey Smith. He even had a social media thing going back at Colorado called hashtag DT2, Don't Touch 2, talking about Shedeur Sanders. He wanted to keep him clean, and I love that energy. Where does he need the work, though? That's foot speed consistency. That's the honest answer. Against elite speed to power transition, he gets overextended. And Coach Cignetti did sit him for the first half of the game last season for a team rules violation. That's worth noting for some character stuff. His hand placement does get a little wide, which creates holding risk at the next level. And trust me, we just got rid of Jawan Taylor. We don't need another penalty machine. So why does any of this matter right now in June? Here's the real story. The Chiefs have a legitimate question mark at right tackle going into 2026. Jalen Moore and Esa Pole are competing for that job, and I'm not expecting a lot from Wanya Morris either. Brett Veach knows it, Andy Reid knows it, Andy Heck knows it. Brett Veach has a very specific type when it comes to UDFA offensive linemen in the market. We have seen him do this plenty of times before. You find the overlooked prospect with elite measurables, and you develop that upside. Bring him in for some pennies, and just let Andy Heck try to turn him into something real. Now, do we wish that would happen more often? Yes. But with Benson, he did come cheap. He signed a 3-year deal worth $3.1 million on May 4th. His cap hit in 2026 is only $885,000 with zero fully guaranteed money. Zero. So it seems like a lot to ask, but if Heck can refine those feet and tighten up his hand discipline, Veach potentially has a starting caliber right tackle on a rookie minimum deal. That is the kind of move that makes a championship window completely sustainable. If you found any value in today's video, hit that like button for me and hit that sub button if you haven't already. We're trying to get to 100,000 subs. Also, hit that hype button. We like to get hype around here. Now back to the show. So what do you do with this information? Simple. When training camp opens up in St. Joe next month, number 70, Kahlil Benson, is the name you write down on your watch list. Not because he's guaranteed anything. He's absolutely not. But because every year in this league, one undrafted offensive lineman somewhere earns a starting job that nobody expected him to have. And the fact that he was taking first team reps today on day one of mandatory minicamp tells you Veach and Heck, at a minimum, believe that he belongs in the conversation there. So keep your eye on 70. That's all I'm going to say. And before we move on, one more name from the defensive side of the ball that absolutely cannot be ignored today. That's Noel Williams, second-year corner out of Cal. Chiefs Kingdom already loves this kid, that's for sure. And today at mandatory OTAs, he was a problem. A beautiful pass breakup in 7-on-7s, followed by a clean interception in team drills. This is June. Don't get too excited, but before the pads come on, he looks good. And here's why that matters in context. We lost McDuffie, we lost Watson, we lost Josh Williams. That's real. But think about what this secondary is starting to look like right now. You have a returning L'Jarius Sneed, a blue-chip rookie in Mansoor Delane, Jaden Kennedy's flying around, and an ascending Noel Williams making plays in the open field. So what was a massive question mark back in March is starting to really look like a genuine luxury here in June. So remember that when the doom and gloom takes start hitting your timelines. All right, let's talk a little bit of business. I know OTA practices are happening and Brett Veach has been quietly doing a lot of things off the field, but let's wrap that up and talk about it. We already know that the Chiefs have finished signing their entire draft class from 2026. Mansoor Delane and Peter Woods signed yesterday, making it official. There will be no holdouts. They're going into OTAs and camp with no problems. That's 7 picks locked in. And the 2 names at the top of that list, the ones that define the future of this franchise, Delane and Peter Woods, are finally locked up. Let's break down exactly what they cost because the cap math here is actually kind of fascinating. So let's start with Mansoor Delane, the number 6 overall draft pick. And remember, Veach didn't just draft Delane at 6. He actually traded up 3 spots with the Browns to leap over the New Orleans Saints and make sure that nobody else got him. So that kind of front office aggression tells you exactly what you need to know about what they think of Mansoor Delane. So here's the deal. 4 years, fully guaranteed, $41.9 million total. His cap hit for the 2026 season comes in at $7.74 million. And the reason Veach was willing to trade up and pay full slot value, last season at LSU, Delane allowed a sub 40% completion rate when targeted. He didn't give up a single touchdown all year in the SEC. 11 pass deflections, 2 interceptions, a unanimous All-American. With McDuffie and Watson gone, Delane isn't just a replacement. He's got to now be a cornerstone. Now let's look at pick 29. That's Peter Woods out of Clemson. He signed for 4 years, $17.97 million. His 2026 cap hit is only going to be $3.31 million. Schefter reported that Woods actually negotiated the highest upfront percentage of his signing bonus in the history of Chiefs first-round draft picks. That's kind of cool. That sounds pretty dramatic too, so let me translate that for you just a bit. Rookie contracts are pre-slotted by the NFL's collective bargaining agreement. We all know that. Shout out Prize Picks for sponsoring today's episode. Let's make a little bit of an entry here. Let's do some World Cup action. I'm going to take Mexico attacker Julian Quiñones for more 0.5 first half shots. And I'm going to take Santiago Jimenez versus South Africa, 0.5 first half shots as well. Let's also take Czech attacker Patrick Schick at Korea with 0.5 first half shots. We're going to go more there as well. We're going to lock that in. Remember, you guys can follow along with us on PrizePicks at All Chiefed Up. Be sure to go to the link in the description and sign up using code HMA. Now back to the show. The team doesn't have a ton of wiggle room on total value of the contract. What Woods' agent negotiated was a larger chunk of cash delivered up front to him, money in the bank immediately. But because of how signing bonus proration works in the NFL, that cash gets spread out evenly over the 4 years of the deal for cap purposes. So Woods gets paid, the Chiefs keep his year one number manageable at $3.31 million, and he slides right into a defensive tackle rotation alongside Chris Jones and Omar Norman-Lott without blowing up that salary cap. Everybody wins here. Combined, Woods and Delane are going to be about $11 million in cap space. But here's where it gets a little interesting. The NFL has a rule called the top 51 during your season. Only the 51 highest paid contracts count against your active cap. So when Woods and Delane signed, they actually knocked 2 minimum salary players off the bottom of that list. So the real net cap impact was closer to about $9 million. That is elite salary cap management. Good job, Brett Veach. So what does this mean for Kansas City? Is basically that they secured 2 foundational pieces of their defensive rebuild without handcuffing themselves financially going forward. We got a lockdown corner who can be the number 1 guy right away if need be, more than likely. A disruptive interior lineman who plays next to the best defensive tackle in football. A guy with enough versatility to kick out to edge even. Both of these guys on controlled rookie contracts for 4 years. That is what sustainable championship building looks like. So when people start the offseason narrative that the Chiefs are rebuilding, and trust me, that narrative is coming and it is pretty much real, just got to point to the draft class and say, look, these 2 players specifically, Delane and Woods on rookie deals for 4 years alongside Mahomes and Jones and Kelsey and everyone else, that's not really a rebuild. It's more of a restock, and that's a difference. They have the numbers to back this up. Let's hope the play on the field translates. And then there's this. L'Jarius Sneed was standing on that practice field today. Was he in a Chiefs uniform? No, but he was watching, and I'll be honest with you, a lot of us in Chiefs Kingdom, that image hits a little different. We all remember what L'Jarius Sneed meant to a lot of fans here. It's good to see him back. Veach trades Sneed to Tennessee because the Chiefs simply cannot fit a long-term $19 million per year extension under that cap. It hurt a little, but it was expected. Those things are tough to evaluate when it comes to football. His time in Tennessee was difficult, though. The persistent knee injury, the quad injury, he got put on IR last October. And then in March of this year, the Titans released him, clearing up some cap space. Veach was watching all this. He was waiting patiently. And it looks like when the moment was right, he struck a 1-year prove-it deal worth up to $5 million, bringing Sneed home. Now today at minicamp, Sneed was strictly a spectator. He stood on the sideline without a helmet, without a uniform, nothing. He was watching the defense. He was watching the practice. He was watching everything. He may have even been coaching up some corners. Who knows? The guys who are going to need exactly what Sneed has to offer in that room may have got some value just by seeing him standing there. A to Z Sports ran a piece this week questioning whether the Chiefs are falling into a classic NFL trap of buying back into an injury-hampered veteran. And there's a separate conversation about whether Steve Spagnuolo eventually may want to transition Sneed to safety to protect that lower body while still utilizing his elite blitzing metrics and his football IQ, to be honest. He's different there. He understands, he does well in a SPAG system. And so here's the honest question that Chiefs fans should be sitting with. Is Sneed at 28, 29 years old, coming off of 2 injury-impacted seasons? Is he worth up to $5 million on a one-year deal, even if he's only half a season contributor? I think the answer is yes. I think it's pretty obvious, and here's why. Even at 70% of peak Sneed, the veteran presence he offers in that young secondary is going to be invaluable. A young cornerback room with Delane and Kennedy and Noel Williams even, they need a voice, a veteran leader. Christian Fulton might not be that guy. They need someone who's played in some playoff games, who knows what Spags ask of his corners, who can teach the details that don't show up on any playbook. Just instinct. That's worth $5 million alone before you even get to what he can do on the field if healthy. But let's go ahead and do the grand total here. You guys have been asking where the Chiefs stand on the salary cap after all of this, and here are the numbers. Before this week, KC was sitting on approximately about $12.5 million in active cap space, following earlier restructures of Karlaftis and Mahomes contracts way back. Factor in Delane's net cap impact, Wood's cap hit, and Sneed's $5 million deal, or up to $5 million, and the Chiefs currently have about $3.45 million in remaining cap space for 2026. Now, that $3.45 million sounds tight, and it is. That's essentially your baseline safety net for in-season injury replacements, practice squad elevations, and operational flexibility, things like that. What it means practically is that if Veach wants to add another veteran pass rusher or a depth wide receiver before the season, he probably would still need to execute yet another contract restructure or some kind of extension to free up that capital first. The wallet is managed, not empty, but managed. What Veach accomplished this week: a blue chip lockdown corner, a disruptive interior defensive lineman that can kick out the edge and help the pass rush, a championship experienced veteran corner returning back home, and a developmental UDFA right tackle on a near minimum deal. And he did all this while staying out of the red. That is roster construction at a very high level.